Is justice really blind? Or do we live in a two-tiered justice system that judges its citizens based on their gender rather than the crime they have committed? What is the penalty for a teacher who has sex with a student? In America, most schools have eliminated their sexual education courses as being too obtrusive into the lives of students. These classes were meant to prepare students for the eventuality of having sex. But there was no eventuality for them having sex with their own teachers. Tonight, on Predator 101, we discuss a justice system based upon gender. Tonight, we bring you episode 4, Feeling Sorry for Teacher Lisa Lavoie. We hire teachers to mold our children's minds and to keep the relationship with them above the belt and purely platonic. Most teachers can't find the time between creating a winning lesson plan and grading homework, but some find the time to have sex with their students. Case in point, 8th grade teacher Lisa Lavoie, age 25 years, who had sex with her 15-year-old male student that she took across state lines. For having sex with the minor, Judge Cornelius Moriarty sentenced Miss Lavoie to go free with only 5 years probation. Ultimately, that judgment would come back to haunt Judge Moriarty, as she would reoffend in less than 2 years of preferential treatment with the same child. A female teacher given preferential treatment avoided jail time in a mind-blowing statutory rape case. A former Holyoke, Massachusetts school teacher who ran off with an underage male student and pleaded guilty to statutory rape charges was given probation by a judge who said he does not see her as a sexual predator. Miss Lisa Lavoie, a 25-year-old former teacher at Maurice Donahue Elementary School in Holyoke, Massachusetts, was charged in 2009 after she and a 15-year-old boy was reported missing and found 1 week later in a motel in Morgantown, West Virginia. Now, the hotel was over 525 miles away and 6 states away from the boy's parents. She pleaded guilty last month to 3 counts of statutory rape and 1 count of enticement of a child under the age of 16 years. The backstory in this case is that without permission, the teacher and student, mind you, the teacher and student, disappeared across several state lines for a sexual tryst with the student while the police were looking for them. So there was, in essence, a manhunt for this woman because they didn't know where she was and where she had took the child without the parents' permission. Now, the missing Holyoke teacher, Miss Lisa Lavoie, and the 15-year-old boy were found at night 1 week later in that Morgantown, West Virginia motel. Once the mayor of the town of Holyoke knew the boy was safe, he made a statement on television. And I quote, he said, "We have her in custody. We have the student in a safe situation." He also noted that the student was not physically harmed. Now, I imagine this would be in comparison of a female versus a male predator, but there is no harm difference when it's sexual. Police Chief Anthony R. Scott said the teacher, Lisa M. Lavoie, had been held on a charge of enticement. Now, the police chief said a component of that charge is statutory rape. At the time, he continued on by saying, "Based on statements we have heard, we believe that there is a statutory rape involved." Ms. Lavoie at the time appeared before a Monongalia County magistrate on a kidnapping charge by video conference from the North Central Regional Jail near Greenwood in Morgantown, West Virginia. So she was that many states away that they had to do that by teleconference. That's kidnapping. So she was ordered held without bond because kidnapping in West Virginia carries a possible life sentence in jail now, according to State Police Corporal T.W. Goodnight. So she was facing kidnapping and life in jail. The jail listed Lavoie's age at the time of her capture as 24 years, almost twice that of her young man she had abducted. Authorities in West Virginia planned at the time to charge her as a fugitive from justice. Because remember, she was missing. She didn't tell anybody where she was, and she took the child with her. Now, Lavoie at the time of the abduction worked at the Maurice A. Donahue Elementary School, and the student whose name they could not tell you because it can't be released because he's underage was an 8th grader student there. But outside of that Donahue school, on that Tuesday when she was captured, when the school let out, many parents expressed shock and outrage over Lavoie's disappearance with the student. They just simply could not believe it. Remember? Not in my neighborhood. They simply could not believe it. There were comments being made like, it's crazy, from a parent who said her 7th grader daughter is absolutely shocked about the incident. She added that her daughter told her she saw Lavoie a couple of times flirting with the students. See, it's kind of weird. In schools now are almost 80% female-dominated teachers. So these cases were the same if it was 80% dominant male teachers, right? Not so. Now, students were informed on that Tuesday in school about Lavoie's arrest, according to a student named Desiree. She's a 7th grader at the school. She said, I thought the teacher was nice. But Desiree's mother, Daisy, said the incident has changed her entire opinion about the school. Her mother then said, my 3 daughters went to Donahue. It used to be a lovely school until that day. A parent, Lauren H. Teleffer, was also outraged. It's pretty shocking, said Teleffer, who was at the school to pick up her son, who's in kindergarten. Now the school went from that age up to the time that the boy would have been that she assaulted. So Sullivan said there is some indication that the teacher and student had some kind of personal relationship for some time, but the extent of that relationship was not yet known. Lavoie had been a teacher for only 5 months there. The boy's parents filed a missing person report with the Holyoke Police Department on February the 16th of that year, according to the mayor. So this incident gets so popular that the mayor of the town has to involve himself in it. How does a woman end up getting probation when the mayor of the town, state police, FBI get involved? Teacher Lavoie was reported missing to Ludlow police by her parents on that Sunday, so her own parents couldn't find her. Then it began an issue of waiting for the court system. Hampton District Attorney William H. M. Bennett obtained the warrant shortly thereafter based on information gathered in Holyoke about the boy and teacher and the nature of their relationship. The boy's parents first raised concerns about an improper relationship between their son and the teacher on February the 13th of that year. So when they raise something in advance to you, that's the time you should have acted instead of her being able to take off with your child. Now, investigators used the teacher's financial information, as far as credit cards throughout the electronic system, to track the pair to Vermont and then to Morgantown that night, where they were discovered in a motel room. So, the West Virginia State Police arrested Lavoie at the Super 8 Motel in Venture Drive in Morgantown, West Virginia. An extradition hearing was slated that following Tuesday at the time. The chief of the police said at the time that he did not know when either Lavoie or the boy would return to the area. He did not know readily if she was going to fight extradition back to Massachusetts, Scott said. So, now imagine that you have a teacher that takes a child across state lines, molests that child in a hotel room, moving right along. Scott added that her family had already hired a lawyer to defend this teacher. Sullivan says arrangements have been made to return the boy to Holyoke, where he, as law requires, will be turned over to the State Department of Children and Families, which will investigate. Scott said at that time, his department sought the help of federal investigators or the FBI, in part, to tap into their expertise in finding missing persons across state lines. So you imagine, once again, an adult female teacher, almost twice the age of a child. You have to use the FBI to be able to track her electronically to find where she is in a hotel. Scott said he did not know at the time whether federal charges would be sought against Lavoie on the charge of kidnapping. Now, the mayor at the time described the incident as a violation of trust on the part of the teacher. He says this was not something we took lightly. The Holyoke school system needs to learn from the incident and proceed carefully before acting on any potential steps to prevent such a thing from happening again in the future, Sullivan said. Now, also, he said, we have to learn from this. We can't go into panic mode and put all kinds of barriers and obstacles in the way of teachers, interfering with their behavior with students. But how do you balance that in protecting a child when the public is scared of male teachers doing this, and then female teachers do this, and they didn't anticipate that coming? Sullivan said the incident, however, will likely impact how Holyoke teachers, especially how younger teachers, relate to their students. Sullivan said Lavoie will be immediately placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of her case at the time. Now, if she had been convicted on any criminal charges, she would lose her license to teach in the state of Massachusetts. Sullivan also added that there was no indication that the boy was troubled in any way, adding that he is a good athlete and well liked at the school. So we already established that he didn't have a problem, that the teacher had to get involved in a rescue mentality. She interjected herself into the young kid's life. Now the teacher, Miss Lavoie, is a graduate of Minichog Regional High School. She majored in elementary education at Elms College, where she was on the dean's list. The Morris A. Donahue Elementary School is a K-8 school located on Whiting Farm Road. The location that Miss Lavoie had traveled with the minor was Morgantown, West Virginia. It's roughly 530 miles from Holyoke, or about 9 hours by car, and she drove there nonstop. The city, located in Monongalia County, is on the western Pennsylvania border and roughly 70 miles south of Pittsburgh. According to West Virginia law, as with Massachusetts law, anyone under the age of 16 is considered incapable. I repeat, they are considered incapable of consenting to sexual relationships. And therefore, that means that female teacher, like a male teacher, raped the boy. The prosecutors at the time asked Judge Cornelius Moriarty to sentence Miss Lavoie to 3 to 5 years in state prison for her crime of kidnapping and molestation. But the grateful judge, Judge Moriarty, saying he did not think Miss Lavoie would reoffend. In that case, he spared her jail time and sentenced her to freedom instead with 5 years probation. Imagine, 5 years of probation. Could you get away with such time with doing something like that? In a comment that the presiding judge in the case made would prove his judgment wrong about her, he said to Miss Lavoie, "There are those who perhaps will say this sentence is too lenient. This too shall pass," he told Miss Lavoie. Moriarty said Lavoie's conduct was seriously exacerbated by the fact that she was a teacher. I would say it was exacerbated by the fact that she was an adult. He said that in most cases involving adults having sexual relationship with children, it is an adult male and the motivation is more likely to be sexual gratification. How could he impose such a reality when in the face of the reality with the teacher doing the same thing? But I find this is not the case, he said. In fact, it's quite the contrary. Now, let me pause here in this rather ridiculous double standard in which a sitting judge who is charged with upholding the law blindly chooses to see the predator of rape through rosy-colored glasses, more like his decent daughter, his nice sister, a good female friend, his grandmother. Judge Moriarty said he thinks Lavoie's interests and concern for the boy's emotional well-being was what originally began this episode, which he said was originally well-intended. He said it appears Lavoie's kindness towards the boy was what led to his sexual interest in her. Now, he didn't mention that her sexual interest in the boy. I might add that he left out that she kidnapped, took across several state lines, had sex with this child. Now, we don't need a sexual motivation to this list the definition of double standard. Also, he put the blame or the onus on the boy's back, which he would not do if the genders were reversed, as in a male teacher taking a female student across state lines, molested her. Now, as part of her probation, the judge ordered her not to have any contact with the boy or his immediate family, ever. Prosecutors asked Judge Moriarty to also order Lavoie to not have any unsupervised contact with children under the age of 16. The judge rejected that request, saying, "I don't find this young lady to be a sexual predator." the judge ordered Lavoie to complete an alcohol rehabilitation program. But only merely a month later, what happened? Miss Lavoie's bail was revoked after she violated a pre-sentence probation condition of no alcohol. Her lawyer said at the time, Lavoie accepts responsibility and does not excuse what she did. Now, if you didn't notice a pattern of rebellion of this female teacher's actions with the judge, let me clue you in on another one. For this same teacher was rearrested after the same student she kidnapped was found hiding in her closet a few years later. Can you imagine that? I don't think this teacher will reoffend. I don't think you're right. Now, at the time, Lisa Lavoie, now aged 26, was on probation for having sex with that 15-year-old student in 2009. Her probation officer made an unannounced visit to her home and discovered the teen, now 18 years of age, hiding in Lavoie's closet. Now, a lot of you out there may say, he's 18, he can do what he wants to, right? Not so fast. Lavoie had been spared jail after the judge in her first trial said he did not believe she was a sexual predator. She was given a sentence of 5 years probation in January 2011 after pleading guilty to statutory rape, not overdue fees for books at the library. Her rearrest came after a probation officer made that unannounced call at Lavoie's home in Springfield, West Virginia, her new state of residence. She moved. Now, as the probation officer looked around her home, she found her former lover, now age 18, hiding in her bedroom closet. Lavoie's probation included this: several conditions, including that she have no contact with the victim or his family, as I said before, ever. Not a statute of limitations, ever. Because that causes harm to the family. They didn't want her around to start with. So, when she appeared in court on that following Monday hearing to face probation violation charges, her lawyer claimed the 18-year-old turned up at her apartment claiming he had no place to stay. Defense lawyer David P. Hughes said given Lavoie's psychological makeup and struggles with alcohol, the victim's pleading with her fell on someone who would listen. Sounds like an excuse. Each time she goes to court, sounds like an excuse. Now, Lavoie caused outrage 2 years ago when it was revealed she had been having a sexual affair with the teen. She was a teacher at Maurice Donahue Elementary School and had met the 15-year-old through friends. So that is targeting. And as she targeted, she groomed him, not helped him with a personal problem. The pair's affair came to an end when they were tracked down by police to a Super 8 motel by FBI agents and the U.S. Border Patrol. And they had to get involved in a search for the couple after they ran off. Now, that's not by accident. Could you get away with such a thing? Lavoie pleaded guilty to rape and enticement of a child and was given 5 years probation instead of prison sentence, which she most certainly deserved at the time, which I said a minute ago. Trial Judge Cornelius Morality, remember, defended the light sentence, stating he did not believe Lavoie was a sexual predator who would likely reoffend. In your face, too bad. She made a fool of you. But, now, hear what Judge Moriarty had to say after finding out she defied his order. The judge had a little crow he had to eat, just a little. He said, and I quote, "If I thought Lavoie was a manipulative sex offender likely to reoffend, my sentence would be very different," he said. But watch how he changes. He said, "But I frankly do not believe that she is anything of the sort." What? Oh my God. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Still? Now, at her latest bond hearing, because of that incident, Lavoie was offered $25,000 cash bail. Her lawyers asked that she be allowed to live with her mother until her probation period had been completed. So yes, if you are wondering, the system fails society again to equally judge a woman as it would a man. So there is a lot in the media, in the mainstream media, where you hear all the time about, they say that women do not get paid as much as men, or this as much as men, or that as much as men. But the entire globe, you can travel, and all the news stations, you will never find that women do not get punished as equally as men. So there's a double standard that you should enjoy the enjoyment of life and the privileges of life, but not the punishments of life for doing the exact same thing. Join us next week for another issue of Predator 101 and see if you can figure this out. Let us know. I'm confused. We'll see you next week.